She's a fearless activist, having done much to support and give a voice to the gay and lesbian community in Sri Lanka. A restless soul, she has done many things in her life, from advertising to travel and event management. Now the Executive Director of Equal Ground, she has the distinction of speaking at worldwide forums on gay rights and remains a resolute activist and steadfast campaigner. ETV Power Women is proud to present Rosanna Flamer-Caldera. Hi, and welcome to ETV Power Women. Now, on today's show, we've got a fascinating guest with us. She's the Executive Director of Equal Ground. She's also very outspoken, a champion, if you like, for the rights of the lesbian, gay, transgender and bisexual community. Rosanna Flamer-Caldera, thank you and welcome to ETV Power Women.
Well, thank you very much for having me on the show, Minoli.
Well, actually, I've been really looking forward to doing this interview because, you know, I think that the work that you're doing is just incredible, and I think the way that you do it as well is fascinating. But I'm going to start off actually by asking you this one thing that I read in the research, and and I need to know if this is actually true. Did you want to be a nun?
Well, I was a Catholic when I was a child.
Yeah.
My mom raised me as a Catholic. I went to a convent school.
Yeah.
And I was actually very devout. Must be all of that brainwashing by the nuns. They did a good job, yeah? So till I was about 15, actually.
Okay.
I was an extremely devout Catholic.
Yeah.
And I believed very much in, you know, the doctrine of the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
But at the age of 15, I guess I was precocious and I started asking questions which the nuns couldn't really answer. And I think, you know, in a way that I'm more spiritual and more emotionally, connected to people than, you know, running to a church and praying and going to confession. What is there to confess? Nah. Seriously, I'm an angel.
Okay, then you've heard it. You heard it here first. But I want to ask you, Rosanna, tell us a little bit about Equal Ground and how, you know, how that came about. You know, because I think a lot of people out there would be really interested to sort of learn about this.
You know, I found it very difficult growing up in Sri Lanka, you know, with my own sexuality, and I had huge problems with that. Even though my parents were amazing people, very liberal, I mean, and for that time, it was just like they were incredible, seriously. But, you know, I know you were going to ask this question later, but
okay.
Maybe I'll just fill it in right now. But, you know, I had a really hard time, especially, you know, being in a Catholic school and being told that everything is a sin, you know. I mean, especially your sexuality, if it's not heteronormative, you know, you're committing this huge sin and you'll burn in hell forever. So it was a huge struggle, you know, and it took me to go to the States. I decided, you know, there was really nothing very much for me to do here. And I decided to go to the States. That's another story. We shall cover that later. And it was in San Francisco where I landed that I actually, you know, came to terms with my sexuality and, you know, had great support from my parents and so on. So I had that luxury, if you could call it that, of actually going to San Francisco, going to the States and living there and coming out and being able to be free and just very open about my sexuality and, you know, being exposed to a lot of, you know, activity and activism that was going on. I mean, I was, you know, I can look back and say I was so happy to say that I was in my first Pride parade that I ever participated in or even watched was headed by Harvey Milk.
Okay.
You know,
oh my
so
goodness,
hey,
wow.
you know, exactly. I mean, that was like,
That's
wow. When I think about it, you know,
amazing.
I'm getting goosebumps. Yeah. And I was very fortunate and privileged to have been there during that time. And even though, you know, there was so much activism going on, and even after the 80s when the whole HIV/AIDS epidemic, you know, just sort of swept through the United States, mainly in the gay communities at that time, you know, it was a huge, huge struggle, you know, and that was, I think, one of the, Harvey Milk's assassination and the AIDS epidemic was actually a catalyst in, you know, the US LGBT rights movement. I pretty soon decided that I was going to come home because, my parents were getting older and, I wanted to spend more time with them. And I missed Sri Lanka. I mean, this is my home. Whatever said and done, no matter where you go on this planet, if you are a Sri Lankan, you want to come back. Strange but true. But, and so I came back. And I wasn't really involved with activism as such. When I first came back, I took 2 years off. Right? No, actually, I took 2 years off and played golf. Hey,
okay.
I thought,
nice.
I'll retire.
It's nice for some.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I did. And then in the course of that, I started meeting people and really seeing, things that were happening in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
And then in 1999, I was told that there were a bunch of girls getting together and maybe forming a support group for lesbians and bisexual women. And I said, yeah, sure, I'd like to get involved, And so I got involved with that and co-founded this organization called the Women's Support Group, which actually assisted lesbian and bisexual women and female-to-male transgenders.
Yeah.
And that's how it all started. Yeah. And I worked there, I helped it grow for 4 years. And then I had friends come up to me, gay friends, saying, hey, come on, we'd like to be a part of this, but there's really no place for us to go, and how can we help, and stuff like that. And there was a need then, to do an organization such as Equal Ground. And so that was how it was born. I left the Women's Support Group, and some others did as well, and we formed Equal Ground. Yeah. It was my brainchild, my baby, right from the start. Yeah. So I'm very, very sort of, protective and I nurture it like as though it's my child. So that's how it started. Yeah. And this Equal Ground has very different values and principles. Yeah. One of the things that we really wanted to put across was that we were a mixed organization. Yeah. And by mixed, I say lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex, and questioning people. Okay. And also heterosexuals. Yeah. Any supportive heterosexual. You don't discriminate against anyone. We do not discriminate. And we want to lead by example. Yeah. We are so gender balanced, ethnically balanced, sexual orientation balanced. Yeah. Our board of trustees is, gay, lesbian, straight, bisexual, Muslim, Tamil, Burger, Sinhalese,
it's really a
everybody.
Reflection of
and
Sri
even
Lanka.
The office, the staff is a reflection of the diversity of Sri Lanka. Island, and we are very, very, aware, and we focus on gender equality. Yeah. I think it's very, very important. And as I say to people, every single person that walks through the doors of Equal Ground is a VVIP. Yeah. We do not look at them as poor, as middle class, as different caste or whatever. Everybody sits at the same table. Yeah. Everybody, there is really no hierarchy in the office, except that people do have titles. I mean, I have the title executive director, and then that's, for aesthetic reasons, really. I mean, because somebody has to take the responsibilities. Yeah. I mean, if whatever happens in the office or what happens to the organization, it is me that takes the responsibility. So
yeah, I mean, everybody, you've always got to have something.
Exactly.
Like that. So. Right. Well, I'm going to stop you there because we've got to take a little break. But for all of you watching at home, don't go anywhere because we're going to be right back after this short break with more really interesting stuff from Rosanna. So we'll see you soon. Welcome back to ETV Power Women. I've been having a really sort of interesting chat with Rosanna, and we're going to continue with that. I want to ask you, Rosanna, I know that, apart from the incredible work that you're doing with Equal Ground, you have had such a wide variety of really interesting, unrelated jobs. True. I mean, starting off with your time in San Francisco, I understand that you used to make contact lenses. Yeah. I mean, how on earth in the world did you get into that?
Well, I was 18 and didn't have really much qualifications other than my O-levels, and which were not recognized anyway in the States. Okay. And and I needed a job.
Yeah.
So they were willing to train me. So I said, hey, I'll do it. Yeah. So I made contact lenses, and actually my boss was so impressed with me. He put me into the special department, special contact lenses.
Okay, wow.
You know, and at that time they were hard lenses, not the softies. Yeah. I also used to work part time at my brother's store called Tropics.
Okay.
You know, he had a store which sold men and women's clothing. I mean, he was one of the first people to carry the Esprit line.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, you know, weekends just to earn more cash and stuff like that. And for a long time, I also was a travel agent. So, and during the last 6 years of my stay in San Francisco, I owned my own travel agency.
Okay.
And then I came to Sri Lanka, and I played golf for 2 years, as I said. Then I got involved in advertising.
And really have done.
Yeah. But you know, it's all helped me in this work that I do today, because especially my stint in advertising and production. I did that with a friend of mine for a while, and you know, I used to make promotional things like items like T-shirts, and do the printing of the T-shirts and the manufacture of the T-shirts and all this other stuff. So promo goods, and we did advertisements and advertising, you know, photo shoots, you name it. And then I had my own firm, my own production firm, and I used to do a lot of work with Odell, with Otara. I used to handle her kids' environmental club.
Okay, wow.
We used to do a lot of recycling projects as well. And I did most of her Odell living for almost 8 years.
My goodness. So you've kind of done all of these things. But as you say, I mean, it would have all, in some respect, you'd have taken sort of little bits of each of those jobs and
absolutely, because I also did event management during the time that I ran my own organization. So, you know, all of that has come, has been a huge, great experience, because I'm using that now, you know, with Equal Ground.
You know, I mean, while you were doing Equal Ground, you're also part of the International Lesbian and Gay Association.
Yes, that's right. I actually, it sort of fell on me quite by accident, that whole thing, because in 2001, I decided, well, I was chosen to go to New York to represent the Women's Support Group to receive the Philippa Award, which is a human rights award given by the International Gay and Lesbian Human Rights Commission. And there I heard that this ILGA thing was happening, in Oakland, California. So I said, oh, maybe that would be nice to go to as well. So I managed to get, chosen for funding to go there. And pretty soon, you know, I mean, before I knew it, I was like in the chairing pool for this huge conference. It was a huge conference, you know. There was LGBT people from all over the world there, and you know, it was an amazing experience. And that was where I met my partner, who I lived with for 6.5 years, Emily. And so there is, you know, good things about these conferences every once in a while. And I was also then chosen to be on the executive board of ILGA as the Asian female representative.
Which is huge.
Which is huge, yes. It's not bad. And then 2 years later, and I had no, you know, even thoughts about, in this area of actually heading the organization. But some of the older ILGA members came up to me and said, look, you know, the current female co-secretary general is leaving, and we'd really like you to take her place. And I'm going, I don't think so, because I mean, I'm just fresh off the boat here. You know, I barely know the inner workings of ILGA. I mean, I can't. There's whatever it is that you need to know, we will help you. We will mentor you. No problem. We think you're fantastic. You need to do this. Amazing. And I thought, well, I'll check with my partner because it involved a lot of traveling and stuff. And she said, yeah, go for it. You know. So I did, and so I served 2 terms as the co-secretary general of the International Lesbian Gay Association. It is pretty huge because it's considered the UN of the gay world. It's over 1,500 member organizations worldwide in over 90 different countries, and so it is big. Actually, it was a very great honor for me, and I think a very great honor for Sri Lanka, even though people don't realize it.
Well, on that note, we're going to have to take another little break. Okay. For all of you at home, stay tuned. We're going to be right back after these commercials with a lot more from Rosanna. So we'll see you after the break. Welcome back. You're watching ETV Power Women with Rosanna Flamer-Caldera on today as our special guest. And I understand also, as part of the work that you've been doing, you've been recognised in lots of different countries, including recently, I understand that you were asked to speak in the Swedish Parliament about, human rights in gay, lesbian, transgender, bisexual rights. Sorry, it's a bit of a mouthful. LGBT.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Actually, that was while I was still the Co-Secretary General of ILGA.
Yeah.
I spoke twice at the Swedish Parliament, and that was quite an honor for me to do that. And obviously, I spoke about how it is for LGBT people here in Sri Lanka. I've also spoken at the New Zealand Parliament as well as introduced to the Philippine Parliament as well.
Do you feel threatened? Do you feel like, if I am so... Because you're very outspoken, you're a real champion for the rights of people. But do you feel like, have you personally been threatened?
Sure.
Has there been an element of...
Yeah, there is always that element there. I'm careful, obviously. I don't want some crazy person coming and, swinging an axe at me or something like that. But at the same time, I refuse to be silenced because I feel that I shouldn't have to hide who I am. I'm very proud of who I am. There's nothing wrong with being gay, maybe there's something wrong with being heterosexual. I don't know. You tell me. But but we don't say, oh, heterosexuals are bad. They hate us, so they're bad. No, we don't. How stupid is that? Yeah. We need to embrace diversity. Especially in a country like Sri Lanka, where we are so multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi-religious. We have so much history and culture, but we are trying to basically subvert that by drawing people's attention to things that are not even true, or trying to whip up a frenzy of hatred towards homosexuality, when really we are such a peace-loving people. We are not going to run out and take some guns and start shooting. We're not like that. We'd probably take some hair blowers or something. Let us loose. But seriously, we are very peace-loving people, and we have so much to contribute to society, not only just in the arts and in the entertainment industry, but also as, professionals, lawyers, doctors, whatever.
It's really fascinating for me to sit here and have this conversation with you, because I know you personally. We've been friends for a while.
That's right,
and I think it's really good for, everybody out there to sort of understand the work that you do. Speaking of having known you for a long time, I also know your brother and your sister, and so I'm now moving on to your family life a little bit.
All right.
And I understand that there's quite an interesting story about you and the two of them involving scaffolding.
Yes.
So,
this is my chance.
This about?
This is my chance to get back at them. No, I'm just kidding.
So what did Tammy and Dirk do with the scaffolding is what I want to know.
Well, I was 2 years old or 2.5 years old, and we lived behind what is now, I guess, the Tea board. It was called the Tea propaganda board, right?
Yeah.
And then they were painting this is the only 3-story building that we had ever known. And they were, painting it or something from the outside. So they had all this bamboo scaffolding,
Right.
And Tammy and Dirk used to like to run up and down that scaffolding, and they would make little maps and say, meet me at the corner of this and that, and it was a child's game. And as a 2.5-year-old, I wanted to be with my brother and sister. And they just got really tired of this matatendon business. So one day Tammy just grabbed me, while I think my mom and dad were having their afternoon siesta, or just before lunch or something like that. Took me up the scaffolding, put me on a bamboo, 3 stories high, and said, make a badaganda. Attarin depa. I should only speak Sinhalese then, right? Attarin depa. Ari, right? And here I was like this on the scaffolding, and they took off. 3 stories high. I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to die. So anyway, there used to be this gentleman who used to live with us, and he had had a few drinks at the golf club, and he was coming down the road, and he just suddenly saw me on the 3rd floor there, and he maybe he had too many drinks. So he used to bully me a lot, because they're 4 and 5 years old, years older than me, so they used to bully me a lot, and I think they thought that that was just
that was a given. That was
just give her an experience of her lifetime.
She'll never want to play with us again.
Exactly. That probably was it. Up to now, I'm really, really scared of heights now.
Okay, we're gonna go in for a short break, but we're gonna be right back with more from Rosanna. So make sure you stay tuned. See you in a bit. Welcome back to ETV Power Women. Now, Rosanna, we've come to that, I think probably my sort of favourite part of the show. It's called the confession camera.
Oh, God.
Where we've kind of, we've
is gone... Is that why you're dressed like a nun?
It is. We've gone and we've asked your friends and family to give us a little insight into the real you. So this is what they've had to say about you. So let's take a look at it now.
Okay.
I actually know her in two capacities because I first became friends with her. Then she asked me to be, quite recently actually, somewhere in 2005 I think, she asked me to be a trustee of Equal Ground. And I agreed, and so I got to see her in a work capacity as well. Now, Rosanna as a friend is fun and jolly, and she's a fabulous mimic, and she'll keep you in fits of laughter, and she's very entertaining. But then she has a completely different side when she works. She's very serious, she's committed, she's enthusiastic. I mean, if I had the energy that she has, even now, if I had it, I would be able to achieve so much more. I won't say she's an easy friend. She is tough. She's very straight talking. If you displease her, she'll tell you. She will never talk about you behind your back. But the good thing is, for friendships that she values, she'll fight for it.
Rosanna has been one of my favorite people, So her mother and father and we have been always very close. And they all grew up together. We used to go to the jungles together, and they have always had a very great respect for the natural beauties of Sri Lanka. And always we have been in campaigns, doing things for the ecosystem of Sri Lanka. We have been working with Rukrakaganno and places like that. She's a very lovable person, full of life, and of course very intent in whatever she does. Even now at the moment she runs an NGO for what is it called, equal rights, and she works very hard. She travels all over the world recently, and even in Sri Lanka at the moment also she's out of Colombo. And she's a person who takes on a job and sees that she goes through with it. A very lovely person, I must say.
Well, she's many things, but I think the few of the things that come to mind the most is what a strong woman she is and figure, especially in the community. She's done a lot for the community, like international and local. She, besides knowing her on a family basis, she is my aunt, of course. I love her very much, but she's very inspired a lot of people because she stands by what she believes and is a firm believer that to stand by your beliefs, you will achieve your ultimate goal in the end. I mean, she has a superb sense of humor. She has always been there when I've needed her. Actually, she's a very talented writer, which is something I aspire to do, to be a journalist initially. So in that respect, she's inspired me a lot, and I look up to her.
Of course, I paid them to say all of that.
I think Anju was reading from a script at one point.
Don't stray
check,
from that script.
Yes. Have said I like her.
Yeah,
check.
like her, check, yeah.
But it's really kind of heartwarming when you see what people have to say.
Yeah.
And they genuinely are so proud of you, and they hold you in such high regard. It really is.
Yeah.
It's quite a nice thing, and I think that's why it's my favorite part of the show, because it's always.
But I said to you before, I couldn't do this without the support that I have from my family and friends. I mean, and that's quite obvious in that.
Right, well, for all of you at home, don't go anywhere, because when we come back, I'm going to put Rosanna on the spot. I'm going to ask her a series of rapid questions for which she has no time to think. She's got to give me an immediate answer. So that's yet to come, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break. Hi and welcome back to ETV Power Women. So we're going to put Rosanna on the spot for those of you who perhaps missed the beginning of the show. We've come to that part where I'm going to ask her a series of 10 questions and literally just whatever pops into your head. I mean, it's not one-word answers, but Don't think about them too hard. No. It's debatable, Rosanna. It's debatable. I've got my file.
Oh my God.
Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay.
Fire.
Right. What's the hardest decision that you've ever had to make?
Letting go of relationships, I think, is really hard for me.
Yeah.
So those decisions are very, very difficult.
What's the first thought that comes to you when you look in the mirror?
Oh, you're so gorgeous.
Okay then. What did you go out and buy after you got your first paycheck?
I probably went to McDonald's and had a cheeseburger.
Oh, really?
Actually,
Okay.
The paycheck was so small.
If you were given an elephant, where would you hide it?
Definitely not in my bedroom. And definitely not in my front yard. I would just let the animal go free. I mean, I wouldn't want to keep it.
What song would you say describes you best?
I am woman, hear me roar.
Okay, very good. How many times have you fallen in love?
My sister thinks I fall in love all the time.
Okay.
And actually, yeah, I do fall in love all the time.
Yeah.
But there is in love and there's really in love.
Okay.
So really in love, I think maybe 3 times, maybe 4 times maximum.
Have you ever taken drugs?
Plenty of it. I have to take drugs to be on this show.
What's your worst nightmare?
My worst nightmare is losing all my teeth.
Yeah?
Seriously,
Really?
I dream about that,
Really?
I dream of my teeth falling out and think like, ah.
If you could meet anyone in the world, dead or alive, who would it be and what would you say to them?
Well, I'd be really shallow and say I would love to meet Angelina Jolie.
Okay, well, yeah,
She's not only just hot, she is also a fantastic actress.
Yeah.
And she's also a great humanitarian and a real champion of, human rights, women's rights, children's rights.
If you were stranded on a desert island, what 3 items would you take with you?
Do you have a choice when you're stranded on a deserted island? I mean, like you're like in a sinking boat or something like that. Now let me see, what 3 items? Really? I'd probably take a pocket knife,
Okay.
a spade, and a water filter.
Okay, very practical. Well, there you go. Those are the dreaded 10, which I have to say you did fantastically well.
Seriously?
You were brutally
okay.
honest, and I loved it.
Okay.
So it's just, well, we've kind of come to the end of it, really.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
gone by rather fast. We've been having quite a
Yeah.
good time. So
It's
thank
gone
you.
by.
Thank
Well,
you so
thank you
much,
very much. Thank
for
you
coming
very
on,
much.
and thank you for being so open and honest and really kind of saying what you have to say. I really appreciate you coming on the show and doing that.
No, it's an honor for me to be on this show, and thanks a lot for choosing me. And I love what I do, so
Yeah.
for me, it's not a job. And
Yeah.
I don't think I'm doing anything that extraordinary. I'm just doing something that everybody needs to do. So,
Yeah, you're doing it really well. So thank
very
you.
much. Thank you, Manoli.
So for all of you watching at home, please don't forget to tune in next week when we'll have another fantastic guest on the show with us. And until then, goodbye.